In this video, we are going to be looking at the least common multiple. The I can statement is I can find the least common multiple given two numbers. Okay, so let's look at some vocab. What is the least common multiple between two numbers? The least common multiple is the smallest common multiple that is divisible by both numbers. Now let's look at some steps that we're going to follow when determining the least common multiple. Step 1, write down a list of the multiples for each given number. So again, we're going to be given two numbers. Sometimes you may be given more than two numbers, but for these examples, we're going to be given two numbers and we're going to write down a list of the multiples for each number that we are given. Step 2 is then to compare the list and determine which number they have in common. But we need to make sure that it is the smallest common number. So before we get into some examples, when is finding the least common multiple useful? So this is, we get a lot of questions about how am I going to use this? Well, least common multiple comes in handy when we need to write fractions with the same denominator. In this case, the least common multiple is called the least common denominator. So when we move along into adding and subtracting fractions, we are going to need to find the least common denominator. And to find the least common denominator, it will come in handy knowing how to find the least common multiple. So you'll see that come in handy a lot later, okay? So let's look at an example. Find the least common multiple of 6 and 8. So I'm first going to write out the multiples of 6. So I know 6 is 6, 12, 18, 24, and it keeps going, but I like to write about 4 or 5 of the multiples. And if I don't see a common multiple, then I will keep going. So what I mean by common multiple is I'm going to write out the multiples of 8 now, and I'm going to see if I have a common multiple. So I have 8, 16, 24, 32. Well, I already see a common multiple. I see 24. So I don't need to keep continuing the list since I already see the smallest common multiple. So that means that the least common multiple is 24. Okay, so now we're going to do your turn, and you can pause the video and then hit play once you complete this problem so that you can compare your answer. Okay, so we are going to find the least common multiple of 3 and 4. So I'm going to first write the multiples of 3. I have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and it keeps going. And the multiples of 4 are 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and again, it keeps going. But I can already see that I have two numbers in common, which is 12. Okay, so that is going to be my least common multiple. Now, if I continued the list, I know the next one would be 24. But again, 24 is not the least. So that's why 12 is going to be my answer. So the least common multiple is 12. All right, example number 2, or I'm sorry, your turn number 2. You can go ahead and pause the video. Okay, so let's find the least common multiple of 12 and 20. So I'm going to write the multiples of 12. I have 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, and it keeps going. I have multiples of 20, 20, 40, 60, 80. It'll keep going, but I can already see that I have in common 60. And again, that's the least common multiple because I don't have any other multiples in common that are smaller than 60. So the LCM, least common multiple, is 60. Okay, problem number 3, go ahead and pause the video. All right, so let's find the least common multiple of 5 and 8. So I'm going to write my multiples of 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. Now, I made this list pretty long because I already know that I needed to do that because the multiples of 8, it goes up to 40, and I needed my 5s to go up to 40. So I needed to continue that list. So here I can see that with the multiples of 8, 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, that I have in common 40. So again, that's why I continued my list of the multiples of 5 instead of only showing 4 numbers or 5. I had to continue it so that I can find that least common multiple, which is 40. So the LCM, least common multiple, is 40. Okay, last, your turn. This is number 4. Go ahead and pause it. Okay, so here we are finding the least common multiple of 18 and 27. So here's multiples of 18. I have 18, 36, 54, 72, and it keeps going. Multiples of 27, 27, 54, 81. I didn't have to make this list long because I can already see that 54 is the least common multiple. So my answer is 54. That is it.